Imagine waking up in ancient Rome. The air smells of wine, sweat, and dust. The sky is red not because of the sunrise, but because today is a day of killing. By dawn, the Colosseum is already packed. 50,000 voices chanting, laughing, roaring. Men, women, even children, all waiting for one thing: death. To them, it wasn't horror. It was entertainment. And what happened inside those stone walls would become some of the most brutal and inhumane spectacles in all of human history. Because for Rome, cruelty wasn't a shame. It was a show. Rome, the empire that conquered the world. But beneath the marble and glory lay a darkness even Rome's poets feared to write about. The Colosseum, or Flavian Amphitheater, stood as the beating heart of this obsession. It was more than stone. It was a machine, built to feed the people's hunger for blood. And that hunger came from the very top, from emperors who ruled with madness disguised as divinity. Caligula, Nero, Commodus, names that echoed through time, each trying to outdo the last in cruelty, each pushing the line of what Rome called entertainment. Because in Rome, the moment the crowd stopped cheering, you stopped ruling, so emperors gave them what they wanted. And soon, death became Rome's favorite pastime. At first, the games were simple. Men fighting men, gladiators, slaves, prisoners of war, or those desperate enough to sell their freedom for a chance at fame. But as the empire grew richer, the crowd grew bored. They demanded more, bloodier, louder, crueler, and Rome listened. Wild animals from Africa were shipped across the sea. Lions, tigers, elephants, even crocodiles. Thousands of them died every year just to amuse the crowd. Some were starved for days so they'd attack faster. Others were mutilated for the crowd's laughter. The morning shows began with executions. Criminals were thrown to beasts. Then came mock battles, entire armies of slaves killing each other under the burning sun. But it didn't stop there. Rome was creative in its cruelty. Prisoners were forced to act in plays, except the death scenes were real. One man played Prometheus, tied to a rock, while a real eagle tore his flesh. Another played Icarus, burned alive while trying to fly. To Rome, it wasn't enough to watch someone die. They needed a story, a tragedy they could clap for. The blood of others, wrote Seneca, is their wine. The crowd didn't just want death, they wanted theater, and the emperors were more than happy to give it to them. Caligula, the emperor of insanity. Caligula didn't just watch the games, he lived them. He forced noblemen to fight as gladiators. He fed prisoners to wild animals because he ran out of lions. He even made a horse a priest. Once during a show, he ordered an entire section of the audience to be thrown into the arena. Because he was bored, Caligula believed he was a god, and for a few terrifying years, Rome believed it too. Nero, the artist of death. Then came Nero, the man who wanted the world to see his art, and his art was destruction. He turned executions into performances. Criminals burned alive to light his parties. Christians covered in pitch set on fire to illuminate the gardens. When the great fire of Rome reduced the city to ashes, people whispered that Nero watched it burn while singing from his balcony. And whether true or not, it fit his soul perfectly. Because Nero didn't just kill, he composed death. Commodus, the god of the arena. And then Commodus, the emperor who thought he was Hercules reborn. He stepped into the arena himself, dressed in lion skins and carrying a club. He killed hundreds of animals, often tied down so they couldn't fight back. He executed disabled people, calling it comedy. Each victory, he demanded the crowd cheer his name. Commodus the Invincible. Those who didn't clap loud enough never left the Colosseum alive. Commodus believed he was entertaining the gods. But in truth, he was entertaining Rome's madness. Rome, said one philosopher, was no longer ruled by men, but by monsters wearing crowns. As the decades passed, the games became even darker. They called them venationes, beast hunts. But what really happened was slaughter, lions tearing elephants apart, crocodiles dragged onto sand from underground tunnels, even giraffes brought just to die. In one infamous event, the arena floor flooded to recreate naval battles, complete with ships and thousands of prisoners forced to kill each other in water. When the water turned red, the crowd stood and cheered. But perhaps the cruelest of all were the mythological executions. Imagine being a prisoner and dressed as Icarus with fake wings attached to your arms. They lift you high on a wooden contraption and then set it on fire. You fly, just like in the myth. But instead of wax melting, it's your flesh. The crowd roars. Children clap. The emperor smiles. Rome's cruelty was now ritual, a religion of blood. Philosophers like Seneca and Juvenal warned what was coming. The people, Seneca said, have lost their souls. They cheer death because they no longer feel life, but no one listened. Because the louder the crowd cheered, the quieter conscience became. By the 3rd century, the Colosseum had seen over 500,000 people and 1 million animals die. Each drop of blood soaked into the sand, a record of humanity's darkest entertainment. Even good emperors like Trajan couldn't resist it. He held games lasting 123 days. Tens of thousands died for his glory. But something began to change. A small group refused to cheer. They refused to kill. They were called Christians. To Rome, that was rebellion. So they became the entertainment, fed to lions, crucified in the arena. And the crowd once again cheered. But what the empire didn't see was that their own soul was being devoured. Every cheer, every execution, every act of cruelty. It ate away at what made them human. Rome didn't collapse in a day. It rotted from within. The same Colosseum that once stood for glory became a tomb of empathy. When a society learns to laugh at death, one philosopher said, it has already died inside. Today, tourists walk through the Colosseum and take selfies. The sand is clean, the seats are empty, but the wall, remember, because beneath every stone lies the echo of screams, of people who died for applause. And here's the haunting part. We like to believe we're different now, more civilized, more human. But turn on your screen, scroll through your feed, watch the videos people love the most. Violence, scandal, humiliation, pain. Maybe we've changed the arena, but not the audience. Rome didn't fall when its walls collapsed. It fell when its people stopped feeling. And maybe, just maybe, Rome never truly died. It just moved online. This was ancient Rome's most brutal and inhumane. Arena spectacles that went too far. History isn't just about what happened. It's a mirror, showing us what we could become. If we stop caring, subscribe for more hidden truths from history's darkest corners. Because sometimes, to understand who we are, we have to look at what we were willing to cheer for.